Hi, my name is Taylor Watts from JMC 438, and my case study is 4.4, Driving Community Behavior to Save Energy and Environment. I have a PowerPoint for my visual aid that you can pull up on my feed, and it will show you what I'm going to be talking about throughout this discussion. So, mine was about global warming. Global warming's been around for about 35 years, and it became a problem in Temple, New Hampshire in about 2009 when they decided that they wanted to do something different to lower their carbon footprint. This is a small town, and change can be difficult for a small town. So this is going to show their race process to get their campaign to be successful so that they could lower their carbon footprint. If you go to the Real Climate website on slide number 2, you can see the changes that global warming's made since 1880 up to 2000. It spiked from 1980 to 2000, 0.8 degrees Celsius, and that's a fact that is an all-time high, and that was when, people started to pick a side and decide that they needed to really make a difference and change the carbon footprint in Temple. So in 2007, they began the research. They wanted to push an initiative through 2008 and to right before the presidential election, and so that was when they began their research. They sat down and drew up a document that was able to be read by everyone, that they passed in their town, that was a very successful document and something that all people should in a campaign use because it was readable and short. So you could walk into the city town office and you could see what was going on, understand it no matter what your level of education was. They talked about further on how not many people in this town got much more than a high school education, so this was a really good tactic for them. The main thing that they went through that was successful for them was their action plan. They had some public relation tactics that really helped bring in an initiative to a small town during a recession. There's a recession going on, so that's a delicate situation where, people aren't apt to just blow a bunch of money, and so that's when their action plan and their, the tactics that they used really helped them to be successful. One thing that they used was the foot in the door tactic. It wasn't something like, bam, we're going to change it. It was a slow-moving process where they just eased people into it so that they could get acclimated before making really big changes. They also used the cheering method. So, when you're doing small things, it's really good to know you're doing it right. So when somebody's coming behind you saying, that's a really good job, you're doing a great job, that was something that they did that really worked out. Another thing that they used was diffusing the opposition, friendly, well, I don't agree with you. Well, that's okay, but, hear us out. And another thing that they really used that I thought was creative was they brought food to all of their educational meetings. So when I'm trying to inform you what's an incentive to bring somebody free food, I know that as a college student, we love free food, things like that. That was great. One thing that I thought that Temple could have used to really further their thing that they, their campaign that they didn't use was some numbers. They were going to have to ask these people to give some money, and, people are more willing to give money when they're getting something back. But this was something that they needed to, over time, give money to see a result. And so they, what I found was from the National Bureau of Economics. This is slide number 3. The Energy Efficiency, Economics, and Policy from the National Bureau. And what this figure shows is energy efficiency improving. So there's 2 charts that show, you're going to put your money in here, but this is where it's going to take you. This is how much you're going to save. Look at these margins. Other people have done it, and it has worked for them. When you see other people doing that, then that's something that you can really get behind because you can see that it's going to help. And that's something that I think they should have included in their campaign process throughout their action plan. The next thing on the slide is I did a comparison between other small towns because, what their campaign in Temple did work. It was eventually very successful. And so you can see where other small towns, like mine that I did was Royalton, Minnesota, they weren't as successful. What they did didn't work quite like Temple. So things that Temple was doing, they were doing it right. And these were very 2 comparable towns. The population in Temple was 1,500 people. Minnesota was 907. That's very close. The median age was 37 and 34. right in there at the same 4 or 5 years difference. They were both a Democratic political preference and very school educated, motivated. So, the schools were a big part of their community, and that was something that I think that, something they're doing right in Temple through their race process. So their campaign was successful, that other people could learn from them. I also, on slide number 5, there's the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. Eventually, Temple was able to write for a grant, and they were accepted. And when they were accepted for this grant, they were part of a bigger thing now. So they were able to get 15% of their people to jump on board to make a step to make a change. And, while they're making the change, this is something that's helping them out, because, you can get people on board throughout this time, but you can't fund it all. And so when they were able to get enough people, the 15% behind them, they were able to get the grant from the Greenhouse Gas Initiative, where 65% of all of their funding goes to energy efficiency, which was something that, well, hey, here's this corporation that has tons of money that's pouring into our thing. It must be something to talk about. Some things that I thought that could have been better for Temple's, their campaign was part of their evaluation. This is a long process, and, they set goals at the beginning. Well, this is what we want. We got parts of it. Well, this is never going to change. Global warming and energy efficiency, things like that, is going to be around forever. So we want to set goals for the future. It would have been nice to see some goals for the future. This would have kept people motivated. They rewarded people who stepped on board and became part of the initiative, the campaign. Those people were being rewarded. And so that was 15%. Well, now let's raise it next year to 5% more, so 20. And then the next year, 25. Some goals like that would have been good to see, because it's not a 100% jump on board overnight. You're going to have to, keep working on people and keep pulling them in. And, setting goals with bigger rewards is something that will pull people in. The rewards was a good idea, but I think they needed to continue it a little further just to see if they could pull more people in over time. One thing that I do think they did very well was work with the media. We talk about all the time how important it is to have a good relationship with the media. Your campaign is going to go nowhere. You're going to get no publicity if you cannot communicate and have a good, founded relationship with the media. Obviously, since they started this in 2007 and it went through 2011 at this time in the book, it's still going on, I'm sure. And so, throughout all those years, you need people to be informed bat after bat, because people can't forget about it, because then they're going to lose interest. So the fact that they were able to have the media coverage, the community backing in a small town where it's hard to get people to change their lifestyles, and they were doing something right. And that was having part of the people in their corner, which was the media. Another thing that they did was very well professional. A professional level, a level head. These are things that are going to keep people involved and doing what you want them to do throughout the campaign. Positive light. They never put anybody down, and that was the thing that they talked about, role modeling. Well, I'm the leader of the committee, and I'm going here and I'm doing these things and I'm recycling and I'm showing how lower our carbon footprint, and the fact that I'm doing it makes someone else want to do it. And that's a big tactic that I think people really need to realize that can be beneficial to your campaign, because if you can't sit there and say, well, here's who's in charge and they're not doing what they're wanting us to do, why am I going to want to do it? As the audience, that just doesn't look good, and that was something that they really pushed in Temple. And this was something that really helped them out, because no one wants to do things that other people don't want to do. And so that was something that they maybe could even pass on to other small towns who, can't get these grants. Like in Minnesota, they were unable to get their grant and they were unable to do these things, but Temple was successful, and there was a reason for that. And so this case showed all examples of the race. They used research, action, communication, evaluation. Some places could have had some more details, but they were overall successful. They were able to reach their goals and to continue to do more and more. Throughout trigger events that happened, they got more and more support throughout the years and continue to get support this day. And so other people can look to this and say, wow, this is what they did right with their research. This is what they did right with their action. They were helping people out, making people feel comfortable, building good relationships, and working with the media cooperatively and soundly in order to really get accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. And that was the goal of their campaign, and they were very successful. And without these steps in the race process, they would not have been able to do that. And this is definitely something that other people can look to. They can be a spokesperson for initiative places like RGGI and all these other places that are say, look, this is what we did, and look what they're doing now. Look what you're saving. Look how we've helped you, and let's help other people. Thanks.